Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer with our content genius behind the camera, Michael Rivers. Today we were reacting to the indictment of the killer of Takeoff. Takeoff is Krisnick Ball, who is a member of Migos, the rap trio. Very well-respected and well-liked guy. But Patrick Xavier Clark has just been indicted, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But first, this is sponsored by eSign.com. eSign.com is just an effective way to remotely do business. We love eSign.com. If you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month. I use it all the time when I have a client from, another state, or if they're out of office or whatever, if you just need to get it done quickly. For example, if your grandma wants to buy a used Honda motorcycle because she's in a gang and she doesn't really have any transportation, but she needs a shitty motorcycle, well, she can go to eSign.com. You download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month, and she doesn't even have to go into the dealership to buy a shitty motorcycle because it's done. eSign.com is just an effective way to remotely do business. Now, Patrick Clark was at a bowling/billiard called 810 Billiards in Houston. There was a dice game, supposedly a high-stakes dice game that Takeoff and his people were playing. And shortly into this dice game, at some point, there was some shooting going on, and Patrick Clark has been identified as the shooter. Patrick Xavier Clark, 33, charged with murder of Krisnick Kari Bell, that's Takeoff. The police department tweeted at the time with a mugshot of Bell. Now, remember, Bell was taken into custody in January. He was let out on $1 million bail, so he had... when you get let out on $1 million bail, here's what happens. You have to come up with usually 10%, so you need to come up with $100,000 cash, and then you need to have collateral for the rest. So you need $1 million, and usually it's like somebody's house or but you need $1 million worth of assets, or several people's homes. It could be. But if he doesn't show up, they lose their home. That money goes into the court, and now you owe that money, so you don't get that money back. So you put the $100,000 up. The $100,000 is like a insurance policy. In fact, that's exactly what it is, because you're insuring that your reappearance. They put his case in front of the grand jury, and way back when, I think this happened in November of 2022, Migos record label, Quality Control Music, reported in a statement that on November 1 that Takeoff had been hit by a stray bullet, that it wasn't intentional. Let me caution you on something. You can get hit by a stray bullet, but if somebody intended to kill somebody else, that stray bullet is just, you take the intent that was going to happen over here, and you transfer it over to that person. So, if I intend to kill the content genius, and I shoot in his direction, but I miss him, and I hit who's ever standing behind him, the intent that I had to kill the content genius is transferred to the unintended victim. So even though you might have gotten hit by a stray bullet, you are not guilty of murder because you didn't hit your intended target. So that's called the doctrine of transferred intent. When the indictment came out, Clark's attorney, Carl Moore, released a statement saying, "Today's action by the grand jury is not unexpected. We would ask people to remember that getting an indictment requires meeting a very, very minimal standard of proof. When we get inside a courtroom and in front of a jury, where we will be able to put on our evidence and cross-examine the state's witnesses, where the standard of proof is guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, we expect the grand jury or the jury will come back with a verdict of not guilty." And that is true. That first of all, to indict somebody is really easy because, first of all, a grand jury is all they are is an arm of the prosecution to charge somebody. There's no judge there. There's no cross-examining of witnesses. There's no testing credibility. So all you're doing is basically using the grand jury to charge somebody. And you've heard the old phrase, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, I suppose ostensibly you could, but what it really stands for the proposition is that it's really easy to indict somebody. And it's a very low standard because it's just probable cause. And probable cause is just slightly more true than not true. They have to allege that a crime was committed by a certain individual. It just has to be slightly more true than not true, like 50.01% that that person committed the crime. Now, according to the coroner's report, Takeoff was shot in the head and the torso. And he wasn't armed, and they say he was an innocent bystander and hit by stray gunfire. So it doesn't sound like he was the target. I don't think Clark has got any money. I don't know how he bonded out at $1 million, but now he's asking the judge for $5,000 for investigative fees. So one of the things you can do if you're an indigent defendant but you have private counsel, you can avail yourself of the court to have them pay for an investigator or pay for an expert. That's very common. I think a judge is going to be a little suspect because he's going to say, wait a second, you have bonded out on $1 million. Where did all this money come from? Which is a right inquiry to have. According to TMZ, there was this altercation, and you can kind of see it in this video. Let's play a little bit of this so we can kind of see where this all came about.
2 days after his murder here in Houston, the medical examiner officially ruling his death a homicide.
This is all.
Now, when a medical examiner rules a death a homicide, that doesn't mean it's murder. Homicide means just death at the hands of another.
Rashi, as the new video shows, a possible person of interest who police
As opposed to suicide.
Take off in a crowd of people where there could have been multiple guns. It also shows how quickly violence can escalate. Who fired the shots that killed global rap star Takeoff is still a...
So let me just warn you guys, and I'm talking about you guys, because women almost never do this stupid shit. Why is that? You ever think about that? These are always guys doing this stupid shit. Always, 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 always. But when you guys are going to the club, you know, in this day and age, be prepared that there may be gunfire. I can't tell you how often this happens. But it happens every day. And it's always guys. And you know what? If there's a bystander and you meant to kill somebody and you don't kill your target, you're just as responsible for a stray bullet as you are an intended target. In today's day and age, you go to a club like that, and the club's going to have cameras everywhere. You know, I've won cases based upon, doing a painstaking review of the video that's in all these bars, and they're all synced and time-stamped. But not only that, you've got people with cell phones, and everybody has their phone out, right? Everybody's got their, let me take a picture, let's do a selfie. Everybody's kind of has them at the ready. So you can rest assured that if there's gunfire, someone's going to be clicking. And here's the thing. So you draw your gun and nobody else is armed. That is a problem because now it just looks like you're pissed off and you're taking it out. So if you had any chance of self-defense, unless you're taking it out because you saw somebody else draw their weapon. And I don't know that is or is not the case. I'm also going to play a little thing from Drink Champs, and this is almost prophetic. Let's just watch it, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
How you shining? Like,
appreciate.
I feel like not like. Of course, you were shining before, but I feel like you was dancing on this one.
Yeah.
I felt like you was crazy. I felt like it was like it was always your time. It was your time to prove it. Is that something you had in your mind when you was going in recording?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm chill, you know what I'm saying, laid back, but it's time to pop it, you know what I mean? I mean, time to give me my flowers, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want them later on when I ain't here.
God damn it,
You know what I mean? I want them right now, so.
You hear that? I don't want them when I'm not here. When I think about tomorrow, I think I've got a lot of tomorrows left. You know, I'm in my 50s, and you think you'd still have a lot of time left. There's so many guys that grow up in the neighborhood or grow up don't think that they've got tomorrow. I'm not going to live to be 30, so what the fuck do I care anyway? And this is prophetic. Because when you're in, and I don't put him in the same category as some of these other guys that are in the life. We didn't anticipate him to be dead, and it's just sad. It's just absolutely sad that somebody so talented and so wonderful is lost. And lost to what? Lost to gun violence. So here's what I'm kind of thinking on this. Typically what happens is somebody gets charged with like a lesser crime, like murder 2 or whatever, and then he bails out, and then now he's charged with murder. And I don't know if it's capital murder or murder 1, but it would strike me that that's probably something in the realm of possibility because capital murder, you're definitely going to have to go through an indictment. In a grand jury process, like I said, it's a secret process, but all it is just a tool of the prosecution to charge somebody. And sometimes they use it to not charge somebody. Like, for example, if they have a cop in their jurisdiction, rather than being the person to charge it out with a complaint or an information, they put it in front of a grand jury. And guess what? Just like it's easy to indict a ham sandwich, it's also easy to get a no bill. So if the prosecutor doesn't want to charge somebody and they don't want charges to come, they can put it in front of a grand jury in a particular way so that it doesn't get charged. So it is kind of an antiquated process, but Patrick Xavier Clark could definitely be looking at the death penalty on this. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the one reason to go to the grand jury is to elevate the charges. And that's what we're dealing with right now. So this has been our reaction to the person who's been charged with the killing of Takeoff. And we'll follow this in depth because this is, I think this is really a commentary on our society today, especially young people, especially people in the clubs. This is common. This is so way too common these days. People are dying from stupid gun violence because of stupid, big ball syndrome. And you know what? We should listen to the ladies because the ladies don't do this, generally speaking. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, police is at my goal.